Break northwards to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, a flea infestation has forced the town of Wilton to close its public offices. Plus, a special memorial in Holden to honor two men who spent their lives serving others. And school bus drivers from all around the state gather in Augusta to find ways to increase safety. Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. Emma Smith will join us in just a few moments. We're going to kick things off with a check of the forecast, though. It looks like a cloudy day ahead today with a chance of scattered showers. It's going to be warm. The good news is it looks like the sunny weather will return tomorrow if you have big plans to head to the beach or anything. For more on what we can expect, let's turn things over to Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. We offer a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 cash drawing. Stop by with your returnables and enter for a chance to win. Alrighty, here we go. Some areas of dense fog developing this morning from near Waterville to parts of Bar Harbor and a few other spots as well. Whatever's developing this morning, we'll be getting out of here as we will be having a mixture of clouds and some sunshine. We also have some rain showers have been greeting us this morning as well, tracking from the southwest and going to the north and east. We'll lose this during the morning period today. During the early afternoon, we may get a few showers and storms in the eastern parts of the state coming up as we get the peak daytime heating going. Bigger picture right now, you can see some of the activity stretching from Maine all the way farther down toward parts of the ocean and even just to the east of Raleigh as well. In fact, well off to the east as well, moving into the ocean now. We'll be watching for our chance for a few showers and storms this afternoon as we get some of that peak daytime heating going. But we calm down overnight tonight. We'll be mostly clear and a nice dry stretch will soon be setting up shop. As for the winds, not too bad, roughly out of the west of the northwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and the winds overall will be behaving themselves as we do move forward. Your forecast coming up for today, partly cloudy, a few showers and storms are possible later on. Highs in the mid-80s, becoming less humid as well. Southwest wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. The hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing a mixture of clouds and sunshine, a few showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon with temperatures in the 80s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up.
All right, we'll see you later on. Thank you, Devin. Well, a crash in Waldo on Wednesday reportedly sent 8 people to the hospital. The two-vehicle crash happened just before 4:30 p.m. at the intersections of Route 7 and 131. According to the Waldo Fire Department, 8 people were involved, several of them children. A 70-year-old woman was also airlifted to Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center. There are no reports of fatalities at this time, no word on their conditions. More information should be released later on today.
Meanwhile, state police have identified the name of the person who was found dead in Cushing on Friday, and it's a case that's connected to a tense police standoff in Augusta. Authorities say it was around 2 o'clock on Tuesday when they began chasing 39-year-old Jason Hewitt of Augusta. He led them from Windsor to Augusta, where he drove into a ditch outside of a local chiropractic business to avoid spike mats. That's when police say he barricaded himself inside of a vehicle. The standoff ended around 7:30 Tuesday night after police were heard over an intercom ordering Hewitt to come out of the pickup truck with his hands up. He was taken into custody. He's due in Knox County Court today. State police say Hewitt is a suspect in the death of 45-year-old Kyle McDougal of Waldoboro, who was found dead in Cushing on Friday. He's currently charged with manslaughter and has a long criminal history, including convictions for forgery, burglary, drug trafficking, and domestic violence. Meanwhile, 41-year-old Mark Gagne had already been arrested in that case on Friday and is facing charges, including abuse of a corpse. A state police spokesperson says the cause and manner of McDougal's death are not being released at this time. It's unclear how Hewitt was connected to McDougal's death.
In other news, a Skowhegan man will spend 5 years in prison for robbing a convenience store in Madison. 35-year-old Raymond Ellis was convicted last month on robbery and other charges for holding up a Big Apple store last August. He has now been ordered to serve 5 years of a 25-year sentence along with 4 years of probation. Ellis was already in jail last fall for leading police on a chase through Skowhegan when he was charged with that Madison robbery. The Morning Sentinel reports that a gun found in his car following the chase matched the weapon used in the robbery. 2 teenagers who also took part in the robbery were also charged in the case. Both agreed to testify against Ellis during his trial in exchange for reduced or dismissed charges.
A flea infestation has forced the Wilton Town Office and Public Safety Building to temporarily close its doors to the public. Our Doug Banks spoke with town officials about how their current situation is affecting them and how they've been able to work through it.
It's an unfortunate situation. We're dealing with it.
Since Monday, the doors of Wilton's Town Office and Public Safety Building have been closed to the public due to a flea infestation discovered by a cleaning company Sunday afternoon. Town Manager Maria Greeley and staff were notified about the infestation Monday morning via email and quickly went to work, deploying an over-the-counter flea fogger throughout the building.
Tried to contact 3 separate companies and unfortunately did not hear back from them in a time, and we did fog again yesterday.
Despite numerous cleaning efforts, fleas were still present Tuesday morning.
A few employees had some bites and, just the feeling of a critter on you, but, everyone handled it very professionally.
Modern Pet Services arrived shortly after 1 p.m. Wednesday for what Greeley described as an assessment. It is still unclear what caused the flea infestation in the town office and public safety building. A select board meeting scheduled for Wednesday night was forced to be canceled. But according to Greeley,
we didn't have anything that was pressing. We have rescheduled it to next Tuesday, though.
One town select board member we spoke with praised the efforts of Wilton's town manager and the staff for their ability to work through the inconvenience of unexpected circumstances.
The employees are here only on their own accord, by their own choice. They could work from home if they'd like to, but there's work to be done.
Greeley says Wilton residents have been supportive.
We're looking to just get this taken care of and move forward because we have a lot of work to do.
In Wilton, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, meanwhile, Hannaford Supermarkets is recalling its private brand of breaded chicken cutlets purchased in the deli due to mislabeling. The 7.5-ounce packages of fully cooked breaded chicken cutlets purchased between January 24th of 2024 and July 17th may be missing the milk allergen specification on its label. Customers should check their freezers and storage areas for the product and are encouraged not to eat it. The items may be returned to your local Hannaford for a full refund. There have been no reported illnesses or injuries. All impacted products have also been removed from the shelves. For more information, customers should contact their local Hannaford store.
The town of Holden is honoring 2 late pillars of its community with a memorial next to the town office. Our Devin Dagnall takes us there.
To have a memorial to 2 gentlemen that were very important to this town, both fire and police side, is huge for us. The sacrifices, you can't simplify what they've done.
Exactly 1 year ago today, on July 17th, the town of Holden lost former Holden Fire Chief Jim Ellis, which was worsened by the fact it came only months after the death of former police chief and 25 Days of Kindness creator Chris Greeley. Today, just to the side of the town municipal center, a memorial honoring both men is near completion. When completed, the monument will honor many other first responders who have worked to keep the town of Holden safe. In the meantime, the town is asking for $4,000 in donations so the work needed can be done.
Initially, we contacted Holden businesses, and they've been very responsive and got us to this point. And now we're looking to put the word out so that those few businesses that may have not had a chance to donate, and also any residents who would like to donate to finish this project up, will have their opportunity.
To donate to the memorial, contact the Holden Town Office. In Holden, Devin Dagnall, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Great guys, very dedicated to their communities. I had the honor of working with both of them over the years, and they're very, very missed to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. They are missed.
Yeah.
All right, the time now is 6:09. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, raising awareness about school bus safety was the topic of an important conference in Augusta. We'll hear about the steps drivers are taking to make sure Maine children are safely transported.
But first, another check of that weather forecast. We'll see clouds and a little sun today, scattered showers as well, highs around 86 degrees. It will be mostly clear tonight with lows dropping down to a chilly 60. Tomorrow, a beautiful sunny day on the way with highs near 84. We'll be right back.
Tonight, it's historic. Just days after an assassination attempt, former President Trump takes center stage, and David Muir and ABC News are right there live. The Republican National Convention, tonight on ABC.
This will be the best summer ever. Good times, good people together.
It's Toyota's Best for Less sales event with vehicles from the longest lasting brand. The brand with best resale value for less. You could get low 4.99 for 60 on an all-wheel drive RAV4 hybrid or gas model, which could save you up to $1,400. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. The Best for Less sales event at your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
It takes all types to play Family Feud. The Way Too Honest Girl.
You just met a guy who's a perfect physical specimen. He's probably what?
Stupid.
See who shows up all season on Family Feud.
On ABC7.
Hi, Eastern Maine. Watch Person, Place, or Thing right here on ABC7, weekdays starting at 10 a.m.
You're not going to want to miss this.
Jeopardy, like the Everest of trivia.
Spit and truth therapy.
You gotta feel smart if you wanna look smart. Be smart, think smart, think smart, talk smart, get smart. You are smart, smarty pants.
You gotta unleash the power.
Woo!
This week at 7:30, only on ABC7.
Around 200 school bus drivers and school transportation professionals were at the Augusta Civic Center on Wednesday to discuss school bus safety. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bichard has the details.
School may be out for the summer, but school buses are lining the streets outside of the Augusta Civic Center for the annual Maine Association of Pupil Transportation Conference.
MAPT conference is for directors, drivers, around the state of Maine, talking about safety topics, and all here to support safety, school bus safety around the state of Maine.
Matt Kearns is a conference committee member for the Maine Association of Pupil Transportation. He says school bus drivers are an essential part of a child's school day, which makes safety their top priority.
School bus drivers are the first person that kids see every day and the last person they see before they go home, and all the different things that school bus drivers have to think about during their day when it comes to other cars out on the road or maybe potential threats against their bus. And trying to keep their students safe no matter where they are.
Kearns says the conference has something for everyone when it comes to learning new things about safety.
We have a Transportation Director 101 course. We also have a course about threats against the school bus, lockdown on the school bus. We have a number of courses about transporting students with special needs. We're also, like I said, we have the trade show.
According to Kearns, in recent years, there's been an increase in drivers passing stopped school buses and offers this advice to drivers for the upcoming school year.
I think the biggest thing for people to remember is just to watch out for school buses when they're out there on the road. That's the biggest thing is our school bus safety, is what we're promoting here. And so just watch for the yellow bus and the red lights flash and make sure you stop for them.
In Augusta, I'm Corey Bichard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, last night marked night 3 of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee with newly selected Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance, the keynote speaker. Maine has 20 delegates at the convention, including Stavros Mendros, a former state lawmaker from the Lewiston area. He's in Milwaukee with his 17-year-old daughter, Tia, who will turn 18 just before the election and was the youngest delegate at the Maine convention this spring and was also an alternate for the RNC. Mendoz, who's battling a minor health condition, spoke to us a while ago about saying the attempt on Trump's life has changed the tone of that convention, and he believes the campaign as well.
I went to 4 of these, and it is on just a different level of hope and even unity. Even the bashing the other side has toned down. It's because I think there's just a feeling that it's gone too far.
Well, Maine's 20 delegates joined the rest of the convention in officially casting all of its nomination ballots for Donald Trump. Again, J.D. Vance was speaking last night, followed by former President Trump ending the convention sometime tonight. We'll have more on the convention coming up a little later on in the broadcast.
The Olympics are just over a week away, and at the opening ceremony, nearly 600 U.S. athletes will be wearing shoes made right here in Maine. Rancourt and Company in Lewiston designed the Buck shoe for both the opening and closing ceremonies.
They get very excited, still, even the 4th time around. I mean, you can see there's a certain pride they have in being able to work on Olympic shoes, because they know, again, they understand the stage it's going to be on, they understand the demands.
The shoes were finished in the winter and shipped out in early May. The company was one of 2 main manufacturers involved in the Olympics. Rogue Industries in Standish designed belts for the opening and closing ceremonies as well.
What an honor for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, a neighborhood celebration will take place this morning at Cove Park in Bangor. Several organizations are joining forces to provide a resource fair while also hosting a fun event for the local residents.
There will be live music, free hot dogs, and games. More than 20 organizations will also provide information on everything from landing a good job to starting your own business. The groups Food and Medicine, the Together Place, and Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness are hosting the event. The celebration in Cove Park along Court Street will take place from 10 this morning until noon.
Should be quite a resource too, and we have a special guest joining us during our 8 a.m. hour on Fox 22 to talk about that special resource fair.
Nice. I think it might be the second annual one of this event, which is very cool, but those organizations do a lot of legwork in the Bangor area to make sure the community is doing well, which is lovely to hear. They're doing this today.
They sure do.
All right, the time now is 6:15. After the break, 5,000 acres of new land will be added to Maine's growing list of conservation trusts.
We'll hear all about it, plus that full weather forecast coming up on Good Morning Maine.
The furniture revolution continues at Dorsey's, and today it's all about sectional sofas. Big sectionals, little sectionals, reclining sectionals, sectionals with hide beds, chaise lounges, even cuddlers. Heck, we even have sectionals with dog beds. When qualified buyers combine our great sectionals with 24-month 0% financing, they're easy to own too. The sectional revolution is in full bloom at Dorsey's, so what are you waiting for?
Be comfortable, my friends.
If you've been injured and think you can't afford a lawyer, think again.
You can hire Lowry & Associates, and there's no fee unless they win your case. Just call the twos.
We don't get paid unless you get paid. We call it the Lowry Guarantee.
They win or it's free. That's the Lowry Guarantee. Lowry & Associates settled my case for $400,000.
Call the twos. We win for you.
If you're hurt in an accident, what do? Call 222-2222.
Whether you're thinking of getting your first tattoo or building onto your collection of skin art,
Disconnected Tattoo and Art Company in Ellsworth provides the safest and most comfortable tattoo and piercing experience.
At Disconnected Tattoo, we'll combine your vision with our art to create something special that will last the test of time.
Don't trust your personal body art to anyone else.
Call Disconnected Tattoo today to schedule your consultation.
Or check out our Facebook page.
Disconnected Tattoo and Art Company in Ellsworth.
Welcome back, everyone. Forest land that holds the headwaters of the Passadumkeag, Union, and Narragansett rivers is going to be conserved. 5,000 additional acres on Eagle Lake in Hancock County are being added to 451,000 acres of existing conservation land. Karen Tilburg, president of the Forest Society of Maine, says the project is important for a number of reasons.
In this case, all three rivers are designated as critical habitat for the Atlantic salmon, and that these important cultural areas too remain undeveloped.
Berg says the forests have been sustainably managed and cared for by the Dysart family over the last decade. The lands will remain in private ownership and continue to be managed for wood products. She says the easement guarantees the land will continue to support a variety of fish and wildlife and be available for Wabanaki cultural uses as well as traditional recreational uses like hunting, fishing, and ATV riding. Certainly good news for the folks who love the great outdoors.
Yeah, seems like it's kind of helping everybody out.
Yeah.
All right, the time now is 6:19.
Let's get a full look at that weather forecast.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. We offer a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 cash drawing. Stop by with your returnables and enter for a chance to win. Alrighty, this morning, a little bit of fog developing near parts of Waterville and a few other spots across the state. This morning, whatever's developing, we'll be getting out of here as the day progresses on. Wave heights, let's check in on those. We have no advisories in effect along the coast, but wave heights a little bit active according to the buoys this morning, at around 3 to 5 feet nearby and even up to 8 feet further out towards sea. We're also watching some rain showers that have been greeting us this morning, tracking from the southwest and going to the north and east. We'll lose this throughout the morning period. By the afternoon, a few showers and storms may develop as a front passes through, and that front will also help to lower the humidity levels coming up as well. The bigger picture right now is showing most of the activity in parts of Maine and stretching further off towards the south and west. There's some more activity along the eastern coast as well. Things roughly quieting down within the last several hours in many spots, but for us, just a few more showers this morning, and then a few storms again maybe this afternoon. So Futurecast showing things calming down throughout the morning period. Notice we get a few showers and storms during the afternoon as we get that peak daytime heating going as the front passes through as well, but really calming down overnight tonight. We will be under a mostly clear sky and a nice start to the day for your Friday with a lot of sunshine. A nice dry stretch will be setting up shop, maybe a few clouds during the afternoon period for your Friday. And then by Friday night, looking rather peaceful, just a few passing clouds, but otherwise looking mostly clear, especially as we head towards early Saturday morning. Average high temperatures should be 81 degrees. We'll be in the mid-80s today with less humidity throughout the day as well. We'll then be in the lower to middle 80s Friday all the way through at least Monday, and then upper 70s as we head towards Tuesday and Wednesday. Checking on the water temperatures if you're thinking about going toward the ocean today. Water temperatures in the 50s and 60s, so still rather chilly out there, so keep that in mind if you're thinking about going toward the ocean today or the next several days for that matter. Dew points again going down. Today's last day, that'll be a little bit humid, and then pretty much Friday all the way through parts of next week looking rather decent. Maybe a few times we'll get close to the 60s, and that'll be about it. Your forecast coming up for today, partly cloudy, a few thunderstorms possible with highs in the mid-80s, becoming less humid, and a southwest wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, upper 50s under a mostly clear sky, and the northwest breeze at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Moving out towards tomorrow, beautiful out there, lower 80s, mostly sunny, northwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. All right, let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. Partly cloudy on Saturday with highs in the mid-80s. We'll then be in the lower 80s for your Sunday under a partly cloudy sky, mostly sunny on Monday with highs in the low 80s.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
I got hurt by a big truck. Why did I call the twos? Because life-changing injuries deserve life-changing money, and I'll fight to get it for you. We got a client who broke multiple bones in a commercial vehicle accident, $700,000. Another client had a brain injury, and we got them $1.15 million. If you get hurt by a big truck, call the twos. We win for you.
Hurt by a big truck? Call the twos. We win for you.
When R&K Variety in Hamden wants to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. R&K Variety is more than just a convenience store, offering fresh cooked meals that don't break the bank, gasoline for your mean machines, or beer and wine so your night is fine. Stop by today.
Goose River Farm and Meat Store is conveniently located on Route 3 across from Hammond Lumber in Belfast. They have a wide selection of meat and poultry, including beef, pork, lamb, chicken, duck, rabbit, and turkey. Open Tuesday through Saturday.
From a humble horse and buggy beginning over 100 years ago to a fleet of modern deluxe motor coaches today, Sear North Star Tours wants to take you places. In Maine, throughout the United States, and abroad, we offer tours and day trips to suit everyone's interests and passions. Cherry blossoms in the spring, Prince Edward Island in the summer, trips to the city, trips to the shore, culture, history, music, and more. Sear North Star Tours. Where can we take you?
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
It was day 3 of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, and last night, former President Donald Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, made his debut. Fox's Rebecca Castor reports from inside the convention.
Vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance will address the RNC tonight in what will easily be the most important speech of his political career so far. Earlier today, he said his goal tonight is simple.
We're going to get out there and try to fire up the crowd tonight and make the case
a very easy case to make, but an important case to make, that we have got to reelect President Donald J. Trump to the White House, right? I don't plan to screw it up, but if I do, it's too late. He made the pick, right? It's official now.
Tonight, Senator Vance will share more about his life story, growing up poor, without a father and a mother who struggled with addiction. The first-term senator officially joined the ticket on Monday after a long-awaited announcement from Donald Trump. The other contenders on Mr. Trump's VP shortlist quickly rallied behind his pick.
When President Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance together, they will make America great again.
Because as the life story of our next Vice President, J.D. Vance, reminds us, we are all descendants of ordinary people who achieved extraordinary things.
Vice President Harris has already accepted a television network's invitation to debate, but the Trump campaign says it will not commit to a VP debate until after the DNC, when the Democratic ticket is confirmed. In Milwaukee, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Well, meanwhile, President Biden tested positive for COVID-19 ahead of a speech to the UNIDOS U.S. conference. The White House canceled the event after the president started experiencing mild symptoms, including a runny nose and a non-productive cough, with some general discomfort. As he boarded Air Force One, reporters shouted questions to Mr. Biden, asking him how he felt. President Biden responded, "I feel good." The president's doctor said he's received his first dose of Paxlovid. The White House said the president is returning to Delaware, where he will self-isolate and continue carrying out his duties.
It's now day 5 of the investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, as law enforcement builds a timeline of events at the rally, piecing together all of the facts and evidence. Fox News correspondent Brian Yenes has more.
Exclusive new video showing another angle of the chaos that unfolded after the shots rang out at former President Trump's rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday. It shows a police car ramming a fence, apparently in an attempt to gain access to the building the shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks was on top of. The FBI now focusing on Crooks' movements leading up to the attack. He went to a shooting range the day before the rally, where he practiced firing. The morning of the shooting, he bought 50 rounds of ammo from a local gun shop and a ladder from Home Depot. Fox News has learned Crooks' parents were calling law enforcement the day of the rally, worried and looking for their son.
Even though the shooter is dead, there are answers that still remain. Was there any support? Was he consuming hate speech? Were there any witting or unwitting co-conspirators? I don't think that there are, but we still have a long way to go in this investigation.
Government sources have told Fox News about a possible Iranian plot to assassinate the former president that stemmed from his 2020 order to take out an Iranian general. Meanwhile, Americans shaken after watching a former president escape an assassination by inches have flooded gun stores to make purchases.
Business significantly picked up Sunday morning, all day Sunday. We've seen a 40 to 50% increase in business nearly overnight.
The shooter's parents are cooperating with authorities as the FBI tries to determine a motive for the attack. In New York, Brian Yenes, Fox News.
Well, meanwhile, a trail of debris is left throughout parts of the Northeast after deadly storms swept through the area on Tuesday. Footage of Rome, New York shows the roof ripped off of a church, toppled trees, debris on cars, and more. After a tornado tore through the town, at least one person in the region died as a result of the severe weather. An 82-year-old man who was reportedly checking on his antique car at the time, he was killed in that storm.
Facing a heavily armed enemy, Ukrainian officials are becoming reliant on local companies to make military machines to help dwindling troops. This as the Russian invasion grinds on. Fox News' Kevin Uretsky takes a closer look at the new devices.
Outmanned and outgunned, the Ukrainian military is hoping startup companies in the country can build battlefield machines to help troops ward off the escalating Russian invasion. Officials are eyeing the creation of land drones that can clear mines, help evacuate wounded soldiers, and carry equipment to and from the front lines. Weighing a little more than 1,700 pounds, the Odyssey drone is one of many such devices under review by military experts as the more than 2-year-long war grows more high-tech.
this type of vehicle will be the game changer.
The battery-operated craft can be remotely controlled and can travel roughly 18 miles on a single charge. The Odyssey can also be equipped with weaponry and comes with a price tag of $35,000, about 10% cheaper than similar drones imported from other countries.
This is the biggest drone in Ukraine in a caterpillar that exists nowadays.
This comes as Moscow continues intensifying its attacks across eastern Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country needs 25 Patriot air defense systems in order to bolster protection from Russian missiles.
We will see the end of the war, and yes, in a way that is just. This depends not only on us. This justice depends not only on our people and our desire, but also on finances, on weapons, on political support.
Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
Coming up on the second half of the newscast, for the past couple weeks, a group of high school students have been hard at work deep in the woods, learning about logging and outdoor skills.
Well, that story and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Driving the Nissan Rogue with Google built in is like...
Hey Google, turn on Rocky's Food.
The ultimate connection. Drive the award-winning Nissan Rogue today.
Get 0% financing for 36 months on Rogue Platinum.
Michael, we're taking you to the hospital.
Too many traffic fatalities are caused by speeding.
Hang in there, Michael.
Every day, 25 people die from car crashes caused by speeding.
Stay with me, Michael.
Nearly all these fatalities occur on the roads we drive every day to work, school, and shopping.
Michael! Michael!
Every time you speed, you increase the odds that your last ride will be in the back of an ambulance.
Summer savings going on now at the Furniture Gallery. Take advantage of hot buys in all departments. Queen mattresses starting at just $198. Recliners starting at $298. Sofas starting at $398. 5-piece dining sets $498. Sleeper sofas starting at $598. And clearance items up to 60% off while they last. At the Furniture Gallery, special financing is available. The best value for your money is always at the Furniture Gallery in Augusta, Bangor, Newport, and North Windham.
Every year, older Mainers are taken advantage of, pressured into doing things not in their best interest. Were you pressured into doing something? Did you sign a power of attorney or loan document and wish you hadn't? Did you sign away your home, expecting to stay there the rest of your life, and are now being told to leave? Did you give your credit card or bank information to someone who has abused it? If so, Legal Services for Maine Elders may be able to help. Don't wait and worry. Call for free, confidential legal help.
Driving the Nissan Rogue with Google built in is like...
Hey Google, turn on Rocky's Food.
The ultimate connection. Drive the award-winning Nissan Rogue today.
Get 0% financing for 36 months on Rogue Platinum.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back. Whoa, it's kind of ghostly there. Ooh, slow transition there. Kind of spooky.
Welcome back to Good Morning Horror fans.
Right. Today is Thursday, July 18th, 2024, and today is also World Listening Day.
A good listener is someone who tries to listen and most accurately receive and interpret what they're being told. And listening is an incredibly important skill. So many breakdowns and misunderstandings happen in our personal and professional lives simply from poor listening. And no one likes to communicate with someone who just likes to talk and not listen.
It's true. Sometimes you get the problem too. You want to just listen for what you want to hear too.
Right.
And you don't always get the message that somebody's trying to convey to you.
Yeah.
So you really have to listen to what they're saying.
Right, absolutely. There's skill courses you can take on this because it's true. It is a professional skill.
Sure.
You can't really be a great boss if you can't listen to people.
Right.
But no, it's hard. Sometimes I'm better at it some days than other days. Sometimes I'm like, I can't listen to you right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No more listening is in me today.
I get it. I get like that too. So.
But it's hard.
All right, time for some history. It was on this day in history back in 1864. President Abraham Lincoln asked 500,000 volunteers for military service during the Civil War.
And I just want to cut you off. I'm sorry. The midpoint is like doom and gloom today, so I'm so
Okay.
sorry for folks that are waking up and we're just like, okay, bad history, bad history, bad history.
Some days are like that,
But
you
I
know.
scoured the like history websites, the reliable ones that I go to, and it's like, oh,
Trying to find some good news
a
too.
lot of bad stuff.
Yeah. All right, in 1925, the first volume of Mein Kampf, is that how you pronounced it, was
I think
published?
it's Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf, I never read it. The political manifesto written by Adolf Hitler, which became the Bible of Nazism. It laid the groundwork for the nightmare that would envelop Europe from 1939 to 1945. I see what you're saying now. It's all kind of gloomy.
Right.
In 1940, the Democratic Convention nominated Franklin Delano Roosevelt for a historic third term. In 1947, General Dwight D. Eisenhower appointed Florence Blanchfield to be a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, making her the first woman in U.S. history to hold a permanent military rank. So it's not all bad news.
Yeah,
That's
that was the good
news,
stuff.
Yeah.
Also on this day in 1947, that same year, President Harry Truman signed the Presidential Succession Act, which altered who would be in power should the president or vice president become incapacitated or die. This act gave the power to the Speaker of the House, and then after that, the Senate. This was especially relevant at the time because Truman assumed presidency after FDR died of a stroke during his fourth term. That fourth term, as we know, is unprecedented, and some laws were put in place after he passed away, or probably around that time. I can't remember exactly, but you know, he was almost like, that was almost borderline dictatorial.
Kind of like a monarchy
I don't
kind
know
of
if
thing
that's a
going
word.
on.
A dictatorship, yeah, because it's like now we're like, yeah, we can't let anybody be a president for that long, no matter how much you like them.
2 terms and you're out.
Right.
Right.
Right. In 1986, video of the Titanic wreckage was released. In 2013, the city of Detroit submitted a claim for Chapter 9 bankruptcy protection, which was the largest such filing for a U.S. city ever. However, it officially re-emerged from bankruptcy the following year, and it does seem like there's some progress. They released this year or last year that their crime rates have been doing better. So, you know, there's hope after all of that. But it was just such an industrial city, and that all crashed decades ago. So it's like, what is a major city like that to do that relied on industry that's no longer there?
A lot of the automakers, steel makers moved out of the area after that. So, all right, some happy news. For birthdays today, we have all actors and actresses. Actress Kristen Bell turns 44 today. She's so funny.
She is so funny.
Yeah. Vin Diesel turns 57, and Margot Martindale turns 73 years old today. She's a fantastic actress. She plays a really good bad guy, too.
She does.
Yeah,
I know, and I didn't necessarily always think of her as that. I just saw her. I rewatched one of my favorite movies ever last night, Practical Magic, and she plays a shorter role in that. But I love the character she plays. She does have a lot of range.
Yeah, she played a Russian agent in The Americans, too.
Right.
And it was so good. If you haven't seen that, by the way,
People are saying it's really good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff. Cool. A lot of good actors today.
Yep.
Okay, moving right along. It's another one of those days.
Yeah, we'll see a little bit of sun. We had some rain overnight. It looks like it will continue through the day today, on and off, scattered showers. But
yesterday turned out really nice.
Wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
And tomorrow looks bright and sunny.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Here's Devin Biggs with the forecast.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. We offer a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 cash drawing. Stop by with your returnables and enter for a chance to win. Alrighty, here we go. Some areas of dense fog developing this morning from near Waterville to parts of Bar Harbor and a few other spots as well. Whatever's developing this morning, we'll be getting out of here as we will be having a mixture of clouds and some sunshine. We also have some rain showers have been greeting us this morning as well, tracking from the southwest and going to the north and east. We'll lose this during the morning period today. During the early afternoon, we may get a few showers and storms in the eastern parts of the state coming up as we get the peak daytime heating going. Bigger picture right now, you can see some of the activity stretching from Maine all the way farther down toward parts of the ocean and even just to the east of Raleigh as well. In fact, well off to the east as well, moving into the ocean now. We'll be watching for our chance for a few showers and storms this afternoon as we get some of that peak daytime heating going. But we calm down overnight tonight. We'll be mostly clear and a nice dry stretch will soon be setting up shop. As for the winds, not too bad, roughly out of the west of the northwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and the winds overall will be behaving themselves as we do move forward. Your forecast coming up for today, partly cloudy, a few showers and storms are possible later on. Highs in the mid-80s, becoming less humid as well. Southwest wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. The hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing a mixture of clouds and sunshine, a few showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon with temperatures in the 80s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up.
Thank you, Devin. Well, over the past few weeks, a group of high school students have been deep in the woods of Brownville, learning logging and outdoor recreational skills through Brewer's High School's Forestry Immersion Program.
Our Grace Blanchard joined them at the Katahdin Iron Works to learn more.
That's the sound of what Brewer High School calls a semester at sea in the Maine woods.
Our programming is set up so it's student-based, student-driven, student-run.
The school's forestry-based outdoor education program was inspired by a teacher's mission to give students a chance to explore different careers that the forest provides as the industry continues to struggle with staffing.
Last year was our first year, and one of those students have already gone into the forest industry.
Through funding from Main Tree and the governor's office, the students spend 6 weeks camping at Katahdin Iron Works, learning to use logging equipment and earning class credit through hands-on experience.
I feel like you have the power of someone very high up. Like you can do anything.
The goal is also to help engage students who struggle in a traditional classroom setting.
I really appreciate it because I'm very much a hands-on learner. You give me a book and it's a lot harder to learn than giving me something that I can actually do with my hands.
Students say the skills they gain go well beyond operating machines.
We're always working together, figuring stuff out, planning, talking as a group. It's a whole lot of team building, honestly.
The confidence that you see them build through a program like this, it's pretty amazing.
Last year, they had 9 students from Brewer High School. This year, they have 17 students representing 6 schools and hope to see it continue to grow.
I've been fortunate to do some pretty neat things in the last 40 years in education, but this far exceeds anything I've ever done.
In Brownville, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's an industry that we really need more folks to enter into.
Yeah.
All right, still to come here this morning, Tyler Cruz will have the latest with sports.
Don't go away.
The best part of working with people that are aging is giving back some things that they've lost.
It's very rewarding when you see people that say, I can't do this or I won't do this, to doing it and enjoying it.
You're going to help them have the best life they possibly can, and you're truly going to make a difference.
I like helping people. I like being able to help someone stay in their home. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Your piece of land demands the very best equipment. Kubota equipment. The #1 rated tractor brand for durability and owner experience, with professional grade mowers, versatile sidekick utility vehicles, and compact tractors that get it done right. All backed by unmatched dealer support. Talk to your dealer today to schedule a demo.
Make your boating experience even better with a Shoremaster boat lift from Hammond Lumber Company. One of the best choices you can make to protect your boat and maintain your boating lifestyle. A Shoremaster boat lift makes cleaning your boat easier and provides more convenient access too. Hammond Lumber has all the accessories you need, from lighting packages and canopies to motor systems, including Shoremaster's exclusive Whisper Winch. Take your boating experience to the next level with a Shoremaster boat lift from Hammond Lumber Company.
Hey! Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Every day of your life.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. When Maine football finished their practice on Wednesday morning, they walked up the hill behind Alphon Stadium to quite a unique surprise brought to them by the Old Town and Orono Fire Departments. We tossed a mic on offensive lineman Max Greger for the Black Bears' one-of-a-kind workout, and we were left with some amazing content.
This is authentic Maine Black Bear grit right here. Over Anthony Gridiana, how excited are you to pull this 80,000-pound fucking ladder? I'm excited to win. How are you going to do that? How is this team going to perform and how are you going to win?
Hey, man, we just get from A to B, Max.
Yep,
A to B,
I like
man.
that.
Gritty, not pretty. You know?
Oh, my God. That was awesome. That, like, we're big on gritty, not pretty. Let's get it. Yep, let's go. Gritty, not pretty, right? Let's go. Grit, 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 grit. And that was gritty. We can tell you, no one else is doing that. And we're separating ourselves, having fun, building the brotherhood. Yeah. I hope you're up too, because I'd love to see you, dog, like, make this yours. Let's go. This is just another casual day in Maine. You know, we're gritty guys out here. Oh, come on, G! Oh! Yeah! Yeah, Joey! Want to pull a fire truck? Good. I'm going to pull that fire truck for my team because I love my brothers. We're going to pull this all the way everywhere. We're going to take this with us everywhere. Pull it all the way to the national championship. Let's go, baby! Bring energy is one of my favorite things. That's what I try and do, is just bring the energy and make everyone smile. Go, T, go! Go, crew! Go, Keisha! Go, Zay! Go, crew! Go, crew! Yeah, Mace! Yeah, Mace! Yeah, Kev! Yeah, Louie! Yeah, Trev! The day goes better when you have positive energy, and everyone loves it, and I feed off everyone's energy, too, so it's awesome. That was fun.
That is some awesome stuff right there. Big shout out to Max. Let's move on now. Final round action for the Maine Women's Amateur Championship on Wednesday morning. Jade Haylock beginning the day with a commanding 6-shot lead. To Biddeford Saco Country Club we go. Nice breeze, still pretty toasty out there for the third and final round. Jade saving par on the 10th hole to stay out in front. Let's skip ahead now to the par 3 15th. Here's Jade off the tee. Nice smooth stroke. Take a look at this shot. It's going to end up just a few feet from the cup. That looks like an easy birdie opportunity there. Let's move on to hole 16 now. It's Abby Flanagan with a terrific approach shot here. That's going to land really tight near the cup, set her up with a pretty easy putt. She had a good day as well. Staying on 16, Jade facing a tough putt for par, but she gets it to fall right there. Moving on to 18, final hole. Her sister Ruby Haylock ending her round with a beautiful eagle putt over the hill. Reads it perfectly. She would finish in second place, but her younger sister Jade tapping it in here on 18 for her first Maine Am Championship victory. Let's check out that final leaderboard. Jade hanging on for a 3-stroke win over her sister Ruby, with Erin Holmes and Abby Flanagan tied for third, and Herman's Thea Davis finishing in 5th. For Jade, who will be a high school senior next year at Leavitt, this win was extra special.
I can't even explain how much gratefulness I have for my family. They're here for all of my events. Not even golf, I also run track and I do Nordic skiing, and they're here for every single one of my events, so it just means so much to me that they're always here.
Big congrats to her. Let's go to the baseball diamond now. On Tuesday, the best of Major League Baseball gathered in Arlington, Texas for the 2024 All-Star Game, and one Red Sox All-Star stood above the rest when it was all said and done. Outfielder Jarren Duran continues his spectacular season by being the first Red Sox player since J.D. Drew to be named All-Star MVP. Duran smacked a 2-run go-ahead home run in the bottom of the 5th inning, giving the American League a 5-3 lead they would hold on to until the end. So here is what the former Sea Dog had to say about his first All-Star Game experience.
Hanging out with all those guys in the dugout was awesome. You know, everybody was cheering, and it was surreal to be in the locker room's cool, but like to see us all in the same uniform from different teams and hanging out together, cheering together, like that was like the surreal moment for me.
Staying with the Red Sox now, the MLB draft wrapped up on Tuesday afternoon, and with their second-to-last pick, the Red Sox making a pretty cool selection, drafting 20-year-old D'Angelo Ortiz, son of franchise legend Big Papi David Ortiz. D'Angelo comes out of Miami-Dade College. He's a right-handed hitting third baseman, wishing him all the luck in his pro career. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
I called Joe Bornstein's office for a free case evaluation. They helped me with a car accident. I was injured, and so was my dog. They helped me with getting my vet bills reimbursed, my medical bills reimbursed, and going above and beyond, doing more than I had ever expected. They were kind, pleasant, and understanding through it all. The law offices of Joe Bornstein made the process so easy, I would absolutely recommend them.
Call Joe today for a free case evaluation. There's never a fee unless you win.
Irish Collision Center is dedicated to quality collision repairs. Quality means Irish Collision Center stands by their work. Quality means they'll provide a written work guarantee for as long as you own your vehicle. Quality means a fast turnaround. Whether it's a fender bender or major repairs, Irish Collision Center is your collision specialist, and they're easy to find within 2 miles of exit 157. Schedule your free estimate today. Irish Collision Center, Maine's #1 choice for quality.
Acadia Gem EV Rentals, the clean, all-electric, and fun way to see Bar Harbor and Acadia National Park. Gem vehicles are 100% electric, low-speed vehicles that are street legal on any paved road with a posted speed limit of 35 miles an hour or less. You will enjoy all the beauty of the island without leaving a carbon footprint. Gem rentals are available in 2, 4, and 6 passenger vehicles. Visit acadiagem.com or call 207-288-8983.
Timothée Chalamet and Colin Firth line up new projects. Ice Cube has a new series in the works, and more.
Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has those stories and more in the Hollywood Nation.
Whatever it says to you, do not listen to it.
Day battles demons, Cube makes the deal, and Chalamet gets ready to rally in the Hollywood Nation. Timothée Chalamet will take on the world of table tennis for his next role. He will produce and star as a ping pong player in Josh Safdie's Marty Supreme, which according to Variety is inspired by the life of table tennis champion Marty Reisman. Colin Firth has joined the cast of Guy Ritchie's new Prime Video series, Young Sherlock. The show is based on the adult thriller novels Young Sherlock Holmes and tells the origin story of the beloved detective. Firth is on board to play Sir Bucephalus Hodge, but no other details about his character have been revealed. Ritchie will direct and executive produce. Ice Cube and his production company Cube Vision have expanded their partnership with Paramount Global with a first-look TV deal. The rap mogul will develop and executive produce projects for broadcast, cable, and streaming platforms. Cube's first project under the deal will explore the Black experience in the cutthroat world of Hollywood.
Father, we ask that you cleanse and sanctify us for this deliverance.
Andra Day fights to protect her family in today's first looks. Netflix released the trailer for Lee Daniels' supernatural horror thriller, The Deliverance, featuring Day as a mother facing off with a demonic entity threatening her life and souls of her children. Glenn Close, Monique, and Ingenue Ellis Taylor also star. The drama unfolds in select theaters August 16th and starts streaming August 30th.
You shall be saved.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That one looks pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited about all the horror movies coming up.
Yeah.
Cool. And Ice Cube doesn't age either. We were talking about that as that was going. He's looked the same for the past 30 years.
What's his secret? I
Yeah,
don't know.
right? Good for him. Okay, now let's get one final look at that full forecast with meteorologist Evan Biggs.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. We offer a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 cash drawing. Stop by with your returnables and enter for a chance to win. Alrighty, this morning, a little bit of fog developing near parts of Waterville and a few other spots across the state this morning. Whatever's developing, we'll be getting out of here as the day progresses on. Wave heights, let's check in on those. We have no advisories in effect along the coast, but wave heights a little bit active according to the buoys this morning at around 3 to 5 feet nearby and even up to 8 feet further out towards sea. We're also watching some rain showers that have been greeting us this morning, tracking from the southwest and going to the north and east. We'll lose this throughout the morning period. By the afternoon, a few showers and storms may develop as a front passes through, and that front will also help to lower the humidity levels coming up as well. The bigger picture right now is showing most of the activity in parts of Maine and stretching further off towards the south and west. There's some more activity along the eastern coast as well. Things roughly quieting down down within the last several hours in many spots. But for us, just a few more showers this morning, then a few storms again maybe this afternoon. So Futurecast showing things calming down throughout the morning period. Notice we get a few showers and storms during the afternoon as we get that peak daytime heating going as the front passes through as well. But really calming down overnight tonight. We will be under a mostly clear sky and a nice start to the day for your Friday with a lot of sunshine. A nice dry stretch will be setting up shop. Maybe a few clouds during the afternoon period for your Friday. And then by Friday night, looking rather peaceful, just a few passing clouds, but otherwise looking mostly clear, especially as we head towards early Saturday morning. Average high temperatures should be 81 degrees. We'll be in the mid-80s today with less humidity throughout the day as well. We'll then be in the lower to middle 80s Friday all the way through at least Monday, and then upper 70s as we head towards Tuesday and Wednesday. Checking on the water temperatures if you're thinking about going toward the ocean today. Water temperatures in the 50s and 60s, so still rather chilly out there, so keep that in mind if you're thinking about going toward the ocean today or the next several days for that matter. Dew points again going down. Today's last day, that'll be a little bit humid, and then pretty much Friday all the way through parts of next week looking rather decent. Maybe a few times we'll get close to the 60s, and that'll be about it. Your forecast coming up for today, partly cloudy, a few thunderstorms possible with highs in the mid-80s, becoming less humid and a southwest wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, upper 50s under a mostly clear sky, and the northwest breeze at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Moving out towards tomorrow, beautiful out there, lower 80s, mostly sunny, northwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. All right, let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. Partly cloudy on Saturday with highs in the mid-80s. We'll then be in the lower 80s for your Sunday under a partly cloudy sky, mostly sunny on Monday with highs in the low 80s.
Your local professional eco-friendly office space partner is WVII Business Solutions, your one-stop shop to get the job done. Handling all your office furniture and printing machine needs at an affordable price. Offering full system integration into your workplace and local service on everything we sell. We can even remote monitor your system with just-in-time inventory and service need assessments. Little to no downtime gives you peace of mind. At WVII Business Solutions, your solution is only an email or a phone call away.
People ask me all the time, are those commercials really true? Does Lowry & Associates really get all of those clients, all of those big settlements? Yes, we do. We really have gotten millions of dollars for Mainers hurt by commercial vehicles. And the insurance companies know when you call the twos, we're going to fight for you. And you know what else is true? I really am standing on top of this big truck.
Hurt by a big truck? Call the twos. We win for you.
Gather round, one and all, for the family fun summer celebration that is the Grand Bangor State Fair.
Celebrating its 175th anniversary with fun, food, farm exhibits, truck pulling July 27th, and tractor pulling the 28th. Presented by Whited Ford Truck Center. The 175th Bangor State Fair, presented by U.S. Cellular. 7 fun-filled days, July 25th through the 28th, and August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
BangorStateFair.com.
Welcome to the Purple Baboon, a local gem on the Belfast waterfront. Find lots of little joys for every taste, like fun clothing for the whole family and a lovely selection of coastal Maine-made jewelry. The Purple Baboon, the best selection at great prices. 31 Front Street, Belfast.
This is Lucky 13.
13 questions are all that stand between tonight's contestants and up to
$1 million.
Sheena Rodriguez and Shaquille O'Neal host Lucky 13. Premieres tonight on ABC.
Well, finally this hour, firefighters in Oregon make a big pup rescue. The Canyon Beach Rural Fire Protection District shared some snaps of the rescue on social media. The young pup is a 160-pound Great Pyrenees, and he was on a hike with his owners at Saddle Mountain State Park when he injured his paw. The crew brought him to the bottom of the mountain and then placed him on a stretcher. Officials recommend pups wear dog booties on this trail to avoid similar accidents from occurring. A big old puppy got some help from the humans.
160 pounds.
That's a big dog.
That's a big dog.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it looks like we're about out of time for now. If you missed anything, you can head to foxbangor.com. As always, we will continue broadcasting for our second hour on Fox 22.
We hope you have a wonderful day.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
When it comes to the whole home heat pump rebates from Efficiency Maine, there's money on the table for everyone, and the experts at Valley Home Services are here to help you get your share. Even if you received a rebate in the past, you can still take advantage of this program with a new Fujitsu heat pump for your whole house. And no matter your income, there's a rebate for you. Let the folks at Valley Home Services lay out a Fujitsu heat pump plan for you so you can start saving on heating and cooling for your home. Don't leave money on the table. Call Valley Home Services today and get your rebate instantly.
If you've been injured and think you can't afford a lawyer, think again.
Lowry and Associates can be your lawyers, and there's no fee unless they win money for you.
We don't get paid unless you get paid. We call it the Lowry Guarantee.
You got nothing to...
Chick-fil-A. Register now at foxbangor.com. You Pick'em Red Sox is sponsored by Blind Faith Tattoo, Bangor, K&M Auto, Holden, Old Town Redemption Center, and Twin City Tile Brewer.
Harvey High is now in session. Today's subjects: biology.
Name an animal with the long neck.
Dinosaur, long neck, yeah.
Let me ask you something. When the last time you seen one?
Anatomy.
Name a part of Steve Harvey that a woman might want to kiss.
Your six-pack.
The six-pack? Does she know who Steve Harvey is? You got to dig for it, but it's in there.
Get schooled with Family Feud.
Weeknights at 7 on Fox 22. You're watching Fox 22, Bangor. From the Great Northwoods to the Rockmount Post and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, a flea infestation has forced the town of Wilton to close its public offices.
Plus a special memorial in Holden to honor two men who spent their lives serving others.
And school bus drivers from around the state gather in Augusta to find ways to increase safety. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us. We'll have those stories and much more coming up over the next hour, including our weekly Pet of the Week segment. We'll have to see what kind of animal they're going to bring in this morning. But first, a check of the forecast, and it looks like we'll see some clouds today, maybe a little sunshine too, and some scattered showers. The good news is it won't last for long because the sunshine returns tomorrow.
Kind of a continuation of the past few days.
Yeah.
Here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
All righty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday, your first weather.